coming to the next session, the first speaker is Nick van Breda. He's the co-founder of Virtual Neutral and he's also a premium coach at ExoWorks. He's a change maker, he's a consultant, he's a virtual reality development specialist, and he's a hackathon organizer. Between 2014 and 2022, he helped more than 230,000 individuals to become entrepreneurs. And with social impact. So he's, in effect, promoting and nurturing social entrepreneurs. He has over 150 articles to his credit. He's reached over 1.6 million leaders. Today he will be talking about harnessing technology for the deep rise. I went through some of his presentation slides yesterday, and I'm very, very excited, as is everybody else in the hall. Nick, the podium is all yours.
But I always bring some technology. I'm Nick van Breda, and I'm here to show you what kind of things you could use to actually revolutionize your business as a company, a corporate, a bank, your operations, but also internationalization. And I brought a few items here. This is a virtual reality glass. How many of you have actually tried it before? Raise your hands. Not even 10%. And a 360 camera. How many people have tried to film in 360? Like the whole thing. Not even 10%. Well, those things are actually now accessible for everyone. They're actually so cheap at the moment that I've been researching and helping individuals, a lot of youngsters, to use these technologies to make a change. And today I'm going to talk about the latest developments, so I'm going to give you a deep dive on various different topics, like very different verticals, where these technologies have been cheaper and cheaper for people like you and I, for individuals, to start using them. So I'll give you a lot of business use cases today, where you can actually start implementing them in your own organization or in your own life. So I'm very happy to be invited again by ASFAR after the Future Summit in 2020 as well, to talk about, well, back then I was talking about digital twinning, but now actually giving you the exact examples of how things like digital twinning can be incorporated into your organization. Today I will be talking about a lot of different subjects, but I'll just give one or two examples of each and how they have been changing the way we look at the technology and how it can influence our lives. So, for example, the energy crisis that have been emerged in this year, and the European Green Deal, and how they can actually create an exponential growth when they are occurring together. So once you set a target and then have to execute it, it can ramp up with a crisis, and that is actually happening right now. Learning and development, how it's changing to go more remotely, and how recruitment is also done in a more global and inclusive way. After that, I'm going more in deeper into sectors like health, and how we can see things like virtual reality actually being used for more and more different applicants. So how can you use it for innovation development and product design, or how can you use it for treatment or aftercare? There's a lot of different things that have been happening last 2 years, and I just want to give you a grasp of that, also from a sales and marketing and e-commerce perspective, and how can we, in our daily lives, use these technologies to, for example, increase our food systems. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a deep dive. It's going to be a lot. So be well prepared. You can have the slides afterwards, but I'm going really quickly into those topics. The energy system in Europe has been looked at, and there's a lot of countries like ours in the Netherlands that have no solution to have one energy source for all our energy needs. But it's not an issue. If you see on this global map or this European map, there is focus points per country. And that means that if we create an infrastructure that the energy is connected to each other, the energy wires are connected to each other, we can actually exchange what we have in overconsumption, while there's too much wind in Denmark or too much sun in, for example, Spain. So we can actually exchange and have the energy needs we need, and we can no longer have to rely on the gas and the oil we are very dependent on right now in the Russian invasion. So what we have seen now in the last year is actually almost a doubling in solar energy in Europe alone, a doubling. There's actually a 12-month time to implement solar panels in some of our regions due to the logistical problems right now, even with energy water pump systems that people were not even interested in last year. So there's over 12 months of delivery time now, and this is ramping up. The cost of production of these products is going down really quickly. Here you see how the European Union is like trying to create a bottom-up approach. They're actually saying, if we are creating systems like a subsidiary program for solar panels, like you don't have to pay taxes for them, we can actually influence individuals to make their own house self-sustainable. And then they can help us with the smart grids. So our energy problems with the grid right now can be forced by giving them all smart IoT measurements on their solar panels. So from next year onwards, every household that gets solar panels has to have a smart sensor to measure when they collect energy and when they consume energy. And the next step is that you actually plan your washing machine or dryer on the right time when you actually produce energy. So the problem with the energy grid right now, to upgrade it, can be solved with individuals. And that's, I think, a very promising thing, that you co-create this deeply with an individual household. The next step is then the batteries, of course. Can you charge those batteries to use the energy in the evening? Those kind of small things, they are subsidized after each other. When we all have electric cars, we have a battery of like 60 kilowatts, and we can actually use that 60 kilowatts to energize our household needs. And then we can uncharge it again. Now you see complete cities and their parking lots being that smart grid. They're going to work, they discharge the cars during the day when there's a lot of peak, then there's a lot of need of energy, and they charge them again when there's a lot of solar energy input. And then the cars are full, they come back home, and then they're discharged for the washing machine. So there's a lot of things that are happening with these technologies that give me a big uptake. And I wonder how many of you think that in 2050 we are able as individuals to have a circular economy in our own lives. Like, we don't have to use any new materials, any new products anymore in 2050. How many people think that it's possible? Raise your hands. Like, I see the young people are actually positive here. That's good to hear. But if you look at energy prices, like the production of solar energy or wind energy, it came to a point right now already that it's only 2.5 cents to 5 cents per kilowatt to have that energy source. And that's almost 3 times cheaper than fossil fuels right now. So it's actually a no-brainer to not use these energy sources. If you have a house and you don't have solar panels, it's really weird. It pays it back in 4 years right now in the Netherlands. I just implemented mine last year, and I probably have it back in 3.5 years because of the high rise of energy costs right now. So it's actually a no-brainer to not have them. They last for 25, 30 years. After 4 years, they are making cash while I'm not at home. And it's really weird to see it in my app, to see the solar energy coming up. And I just make like $10 a day right now, just having them on my roof. The next thing I want to talk about is education. In the COVID time, people had education from home, and there was this school that actually said to their students, can you build our school in Minecraft? You all play Minecraft? Probably you can do it. After 1 week, they rebuilt the whole school in Minecraft, and they had all the classes in Minecraft. So the teachers were actually using it as a teaching space. And I think it's really promising. If you look at 91% of the young kids are playing video games, and we can actually have them create for our teachers the best learning environment. Like, I'm really enthusiastic because I was a game addict back in the days, and I always wished to have games in my curricula. I never had the opportunity because all my parents and all my family around me, they were saying, like, gaming? That's a waste of time. And nowadays you see that gaming is actually simulating people to learn skills. And on a safe way, like for example becoming a mechanic or working in military or becoming an engineer. There's so much uptake on simulation games that it's actually a no-brainer to not use simulation experience anymore. It's used for hard skills but also for soft skills. For example, learning how to manage a conflict as a consultant. It's very hard to mimic that training with a group of people, a group of colleagues, but now it's actually possible with creating a simulation and having NPCs. They are like avatars that you give them an instruction, like a training manual, and they perform it every time again with speech recognition today, giving you a score on how well you did. You were too aggressive at talking to the person, you were too slow, you were, police actually is using that today to give parking tickets. There can be a big conflict giving a parking ticket to someone, and they are being trained in virtual reality right now to handle that on the right way so they don't have that much conflict. And I just want to show you a few examples of other organizations, like Hilton is training their staff, like as a hotel they're training the staff and their management to have some more empathy about clients and dealing with people in their hotels and restaurants. If you are hired as a manager, it's not common sense that you're in operations, so it's hard to think about your personnel and what they should do if you don't know what they are doing in their daily lives. So they only needed 20 minutes of training in VR to understand the situation of room service, of front desk employees, of doing reception, and they have actually been able to bring the learning environment to the managers really quickly. And it took them only one-day course with a company called SweetRush. They designed the script. They started with this camera. They filmed everyone in their role working. For example, the receptionist, they filmed them. And then they made them short enough to understand, like, okay, this is kind of situations they are coming in. So now we understand, okay, what to do in our governance and not what to do in our next implementation plans and upgrades. And you see that those technologies are becoming so accessible now that healthcare is actually leveraging that and AI and robotics. I'm just going to give some examples of how home care has been improved over the last few years. There's VR being used for meditation, not just for the nurses in their work field that have been helping people to fight corona, that were so stressed and traumatized in their work, that needed 10 minutes of VR break, VR meditation in their work to get relaxed again, to get out of their workload. You now see like AI pill dispensers giving you the pills on the right time for people with dementia. Or we are actually working on this little doll that the kid is wearing here that is helping them develop social skills so that they can actually communicate their needs and problems faster, also without having a doctor at hand at all time. So they can actually know what is needed before a doctor actually comes in. And there's also robots doing help in integration. For example, Ukrainian learning Dutch with a robot, learning the language. So there's so much applications being used now, but it's also because of the shortage in our healthcare workers in the Netherlands. There's so much shortage that they are taking every opportunity, every robot that can have a big meaning. Of course, they have to assess that, but it actually helps them out a big time that I see. And here you see how a hospital in Corona times was not able to onboard new personnel, and they have looked at, okay, what kind of technologies? You guys probably have an iPhone here. There's a camera on the back. It's a 3D scanner on the back of your iPhone, and that 3D scanner helps you digitize the world around you. You can actually scan 3D objects and place them in virtual reality or in augmented reality, and you can create trainings yourself with them. And with a glass or without a glass, you can use your phone to actually put the AR model in front of you, and you can start creating trainings. And this is now done on onboarding a lot of people, not just for patient care, but here is actually how we made a scan of the whole hospital, and we helped people do the onboarding at home. And this is actually all a game now. So it's 3D scanned with a smartphone or a Leica camera. Then it's turned into a game environment where all the tools that you need for your onboarding are implemented in. So you're going to test those, you're going to practice those. You see that here. So those games are actually now serious games. And you're being onboarded in virtual reality, and then afterwards, after one day of training at home, you can start. So you don't need any employees anymore to do the training. And this hospital is having their own academy where they are developing more and more of these trainings. So it doesn't really cost them a lot to have this business unit, this side business unit, where they're experimenting this, and they see afterwards that they have created something for the long run. They can use it for a long time. Other examples in that hospital is how we can do aftercare when people have to go to the intensive care. Like 90,000 people go to intensive care in the Netherlands alone every year, and a lot of percentage of them, they have a post-traumatic trauma afterwards. And it takes them over 2 years to overcome the trauma of going to an intensive care. And they are thinking like, okay, what if we can simulate with the 360 cameras? Here's a little bit more high quality 360 camera using, and we can mimic the whole travel towards the intensive care, what we are going to do on the intensive care, and we do it as a pre-exposure therapy. So this is going to happen with you. So you can prepare mentally already that this is going to happen to you, and after the treatment, you come back and do it again. And it actually is so effective that they are now doing it with everyone they can that have been through an intensive care process, and they prevent depressions, the suicide attempts, lots of things that happen afterwards after people have been through this traumatic experience. So it's a new product they came up with, a new service they come up with that has been implemented now successfully in that hospital. Let's dive more into the business side of things. Like, you're a global company or you want to expand, but how do you global onboarding? How do you get people in your culture in there? There's Accenture, it's a big consulting firm with 600,000 employees, and they have looked at, okay, how can we actually leverage this new technology to get 60,000 new employees we hire every year onboarded. And it's really hard as an international organization to onboard that amount of people with a lot of people. They have looked at a day program and how this new technology can help them in a day program to get people working together, onboarded, like understanding the norms and value of the firm, and actually do some more things like preparations of presentations, co-designing products, reviewing them together with lots of different cultures that are tuning in, and they're all doing it as an avatar, and they do it with 3 founding pillars. Those pillars are the hardware, is defining, okay, what kind of hardware piece can we ship to 60,000 people? So they came up with this glass, and they shipped that to all the new employees. The second thing is like, okay, we need 1 or 2 applications that people can use without any technical background. And they choose to use Altspace VR, a Microsoft product, and they use Supernatural. And Supernatural is a fitness app in VR. So people do Energizer's experience every day to not sit behind their computers all day. They do exercises in VR to have some physical activity in the breaks that they have during the work. And those 2 apps were used to actually onboard those people. And now you see that they've done a few different things with that. So they are actually onboarding all of the new personnel in virtual reality first. The second thing is that they have their own Friday afternoon meetings in VR. They are doing drinks and everything in there, and they do fun activities like playing basketball or bowling, these kind of fun activities together. And they have their own like dome where they give tours to new people that they are consulting. So they give access to the platform to new people that they are consulting, and then they can onboard them. Thank you. So Accenture has a big strategy around it now. They want to be the best digital consultant, so they actually use VR as a tool to make them the best. Like they are so progressively taking 60,000 headsets that they made it a product that they are selling, of course. But also, it's not that easy. Like, we just take a technology and start it, and they listen to their people, like their employees. And their feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. They are almost addicted to it, that they love it so much that they actually come up with new products themselves. So their users are actually coming up with new services. And they're discovering together with Microsoft in their free platform, Altspace, how they can further collaborate, like brainstorm together and co-work together and co-design together to make it more powerful than it is today. And there's another company that's in a similar industry, it's PwC, that said we are going to use existing content. And they use Tailspin, and Tailspin is actually creating simulation learnings about soft skills. They're actually creating trainings that are normally done in classroom. It takes 2 hours, but they're able to ramp them up to 20 minutes. And what they are trying to do now is actually create like the simulations together with content creators, and that more and more content is actually there already from the start, so companies can right away use them like you and I. And this is what they've reached. They have reached a 4 times speed in learning. They have reached much more attention span because people are in the experience. Thank you. And they have actually simulated, like doing it in classroom and doing it in the e-learning. They simulated that 375 students can outperform the costs. So if you have more than 375 students, it's also like a no-brainer to not use it. So now they are having lots of content like active listening and inquiry, physiological safety, inclusion. There are a lot of courses now there that they're using. And what I think is very interesting, if we can get that content open source for everyone. And there's an initiative called VO Content. It's a company, it's like a foundation in the Netherlands. 26% have joined the open education, like I call it a revolution, but they have joined this platform where they are sharing all the learning materials from all the learning suppliers, and they can just click on the subjects and the courses they want, and they can create their own curricula. And then you can just have a lifelong learning platform for all of your employees to upskill them, and they are actually subsidized by the government now, and they are so good in getting a return on investment that going open source is not really a bad thing here. And I think that challenges like having refugees now from Ukraine all over Europe and giving them a quick way to a job opportunity is actually now done in VR. There's a company, Wiener XL, is a municipality helping 4,000 people find the right job within 6 months being in a country by giving them a 360 tour of a company in the virtual reality. And I think that's really promising. So 92% actually enjoyed it, and they had a good representation of what the job will be. And that's groundbreaking, that when people are entering and you can use the technology on a quick way, it's revolutionary. So there's a lot of applications. Here's how you can actually do hiring together online. And I would like to see more and more of you trying out this technology. So today we will be in the lobby giving you a tryout on the VR headsets together with my next speaker, Doreen. And we would like to see more and more of you using it for lots of different reasons, like innovation development, designing spaces like cars, testing it without having to produce products, but also, for example, safety trainings and onboarding. There's so much applications out there that defining which kind of strategy and which kind of problems you have a company. You can start with free apps like Gravity Sketch, like the design app BMW uses, and start to design your own experience. And if you're talking about climate change experiences, there's a great application called Pollinator Park. It's created by the European Union to actually simulate the world in 2070, simulate the world in 50 years, and see how the world looks like if we don't have bees anymore. Like 60% of the food we eat today is not there anymore, but you feel it, and you're in that experience, and afterwards, you are changing your life. So I think these simulations, and if we give those tools to a lot of young people nowadays, they can design the world of the future. And hopefully a good scenario, because the bee problem is actually a huge problem here. So these things that you can design with the technology now can be used for branding as well. If it's a social issue, or if it's an e-commerce product, like a new product that you want to sell, These things are done with NFTs, these are done with new cars, they're done with a lot of different things. So see these new technologies as a stepping stone for people with no technical background to actually get started with most of the modern technologies. And here you see having a group presentation looks a little bit odd today, so there's not like the metaverse is like realistically exactly the same as we are here together, but the technology is there, and most of the platforms are free to use, so there's actually no excuse to not try it out and just see how it works, how it can work with someone in another country. See if it feels like, oh, you're together. And here's like, if you're doing e-commerce, if you can already try out clothing and maybe shoes, you can try out your shoes in VR already, like Gucci and Nike are doing, and then afterwards you see that people are buying it faster when they had like this opportunity as an avatar, or with AR, with a phone, they are scanning like, oh, it looks great, or they're scanning a new furniture with IKEA app, and it fits in their room, and then 30% more of the people buy the product actually if they have this experience. So it's a big uptake. The last subject I would like to talk about is the food system. When we see solar becoming so cheap, and greenhouse, the glass houses that are in the Netherlands, like creating more export in tomatoes than Spain in total, you see that in France they are also incorporating the solar panels on these glass houses. So they don't need gas anymore. And I think because of the price drop right now in solar, it becomes a very good source of creating like a food system that you don't rely on import anymore. So Dubai and New York and China, they're all learning from us how we do the glass house practice to start using less water, use less pesticides, use clean energy sources, and set up a system, a security system that you do no longer rely on the rainfall, do no longer have the problems of the drought, because you can manage it. You can create a climate control system like we have here with the air conditioning, but then for your food systems. So I think it's there for everyone, and I'm working for the University of Vans. We're actually testing 3D print robots that can do the farming automated with 3D arms. They're harvesting everything, they're taking the weeds out, and they are actually making food together with the vocational school, Curio. They are actually able to do it already. So it's like an open source project. It's called FarmBot, and they're creating this glass house practice in the school right now to get started with creating their own food system. Like maybe individuals like you and I can create our own food system at home. Maybe the space is limited, but it might be a really cool scenario if we can not rely on the energy, gas, and fossil fuels anymore, and also not rely on all the import of food that we have right now, and lower our global footprint together. So I'm curious what you think, like what is your next technology that you're going to apply? I was very happy to speak to you all, and I hope you enjoyed this talk. And if you want to connect to me, let me know. I'm always using all of these technologies and trying out stuff, experimenting with it. They are not always successful, but I'm actually using them and showcasing other young people how they can leverage it to set up their entrepreneurial journey. So I hope this will set up your entrepreneurial journey with technology as well, and I would love to help you all with that first step. Thank you very much.